analyzing Sharpay's outfits in High School Musical. If you're around my age, then you're well aware of the chokehold High School Musical had on teens and tweens back in the day. First airing on January 20th, 2006, the Disney Channel original movie was a surprise hit that saw its cast turn into stars overnight, spawned the best-selling album of the year, and eventually led to an entire film franchise, with the third installment even making it to theaters. The series' success was incredibly influential on the direction of the Disney Channel, inspiring the creation of other teen-driven musicals like Camp Rock, Lemonade Mouth, and Teen Beach Movie. High School Musical was one of the Disney Channel's most profitable brands, with the company not only making an assortment of merchandise ranging from t-shirts to lunchboxes to dolls, but also producing live concerts and ice shows to satiate High School Musical demand. In 2008, Time magazine reported that the franchise had made nearly $700 million in soundtrack and merchandise sales alone, and 3 short years later, it was estimated to have made over $4 billion worldwide. To put it plainly, High School Musical wasn't just a movie, it was an entire way of life. We lived and breathed Wildcats. Often described as a modern-day retelling of Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, the High School Musical trilogy focused on the romance between 2 high schoolers, Troy Bolton and Gabriella Montez, who are a part of opposing social cliques. Over the course of the films, Troy and Gabriella's relationship goes through several ups and downs, all while their friends dance their hearts out in the background. Although the story is centered on Troy and Gabriella's exploits, there's no denying that the series' most memorable character is Sharpay Evans, who sang and schemed her way into the Teen Queen Hall of Fame. In today's video, we'll be taking an in-depth look at Sharpay's outfits in the High School Musical franchise, including her spin-off movie. We'll be discussing how the costuming relates to the story and her personality, as well as the real-life fashion and pop culture trends that influence the direction of the character. Obviously, there will be spoilers, but I'm not sure if we can even call it that when High School Musical is almost 20 years old. Now let's get into it. When the first High School Musical movie started filming, Ashley Tisdale was actually the most famous member of the young cast, having risen to prominence in 2005 as Maddie Fitzpatrick in the popular Disney Channel sitcom, The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. Tisdale initially auditioned for the role of Gabriella, but producers felt that her alto voice wasn't a good fit for the character, so she tried out for Sharpay instead. Because of her good girl image on The Sweet Life, they were nervous about casting her as the villain. But to their surprise, kids fell in love with Sharpay, which I really think is a testament to Tisdale's portrayal of her. Disney has a solid roster of mean girls, like Amber and Ashley, Tess Tyler, and Kate Sanders, but none are as well liked or as memorable as Sharpay. Underneath all that attitude and arrogance, she's just a girl who's willing to do anything to achieve her dreams, which is admirable in its own way. After a mere 10 seconds on screen, we already know everything we need to know about Sharpay. She doesn't even need to say a single word. Her appearance and demeanor are enough. Her tweed set is an obvious ode to Chanel, making it clear that she comes from money, cares about her appearance, and is a bit of a stickler for tradition. Wearing pink from head to toe certainly isn't subtle, so we know that Sharpay is not only confident enough to wear such a bold ensemble, but actually craves the attention that comes with it. Just look at her bangles. She can't move an arm without making a ruckus. In the early 2000s, pink was the ultimate girly color. For kids, that meant Barbie dolls and princesses and Hello Kitty. But as they got older, pink began to develop more negative connotations. In the media, the color was often used as a shorthand for stupidity and promiscuity, with many bimbo-type characters, like Fiona in A Cinderella Story, the Plastics in Mean Girls, or Jessica in The Hot Chick, mainly wearing pink. And the trope was even parodied in Not Another Teen Movie. Sharpay's penchant for pink was not only influenced by the 2000s trend of hyperfeminine villains, but it even became one of the best examples of it. We have videos about both the evolution of the bimbo and the demonization of pink if you want to learn more. Sharpay, Gabriella, and Taylor are actually dressed pretty similarly, all wearing a fitted jacket and knee-length skirt. However, there are a few key details that highlight the characters' differences. Taylor is wearing a classic blazer and Mary Jane's, giving her a preppier look that ties into her academic background. Gabriella's outfit, with its pastels and lace, is more approachable, symbolizing her down-to-earth, girl-next-door persona, and all of the blues create a stark contrast to Sharpay's bold pinks. Compared to what the other two are wearing, Sharpay's outfit comes across as more elaborate and formal, which is representative of her haughtiness and materialism, as well as the conflict between her and her schoolmates. These looks were inspired by a real trend from the time period that was especially popular in the teen/young adult sphere, with the knee-length skirts and form-fitting tops coming across as youthful, but with a sort of take me seriously edge. And if you grew up having to go to church, I guarantee an outfit like this was in your arsenal. A victim of mid-2000s maximalism, Sharpay's outfits are all about layering and accessorizing, because much like her performance strategy, she truly believes that more is more. As the self-proclaimed star of East High, she often gravitates towards things that are sparkly and shiny, like rhinestones and sequins, and they become a recurring motif in her clothing throughout the films. They're also exclusively worn by her and Ryan, the two biggest showmen in the cast. This was a very popular trend at the time, with sequins and rhinestones appearing on tank tops, jeans, and even temporary tattoos, and the inclusion of them in Sharpay's wardrobe is indicative of her status as a trendy teen, which sets up her place in the school's social hierarchy. The 2000s were a big time for blonde hair, with the Olsen twins, Hilary Duff, Britney Spears, Jessica Simpson, Avril Lavigne, Taylor Swift, and Blake Lively all sporting the color, giving it a fashionable stamp of approval in the eyes of tweens everywhere. Because Sharpay's hair is always perfect, it really seemed like she was living the teen dream, and it was so big and bouncy that I remember thinking that she looked like a Polly Pocket. Unlike today, where the iPhone reigns supreme, in the 2000s there were a wide array of mobile phones vying for the top spot. The film acknowledges this in a brilliant way by giving the characters different phones, with the different types being representative of their personalities. Troy has a pretty generic flip phone, a perfect fit for his basketball player persona, whereas Gabriella has a Palm Trio, which captures her scholastic vibe. Ryan has a Razr, perhaps one of the most iconic cell phones of the early 2000s, and I like that it's silver, so it isn't as showy as some of the phone's other colorways. He's not the center of attention. Sharpay carries around a bedazzled sidekick, which I'd call the cell phone of the stars, with Lindsay Lohan, Paris Hilton, Kim Kardashian, Nicole Richie, Fergie, and Hilary Duff all carrying their own. On the day of the audition, Sharpay sports a striped jacket, hot pink jeans, a neon blue tank top, and silver ballet flats. Without the jacket, which has a more muted color palette, this outfit would have been so tacky. But I actually think it works, in a Disney Channel way. Once again, it's a reference to a real-life trend from the 2000s, namely business casual, which saw people throwing on a blazer with any old thing and calling it a day. Although the other characters have backpacks, Sharpay only carries around a purse, and I can't help but respect her commitment to fashion. For their audition, she and Ryan have an outfit change, with Sharpay switching into a fuchsia skirt, a pink rhinestone tank top, and a silver sequin shrug. It's her shiniest outfit yet, mirroring how she wants to shine on stage. And it's interesting how much more muted Gabriella's outfit and performance is in comparison. Maybe this is a hot take, but I actually prefer Sharpay and Ryan's rendition of the song. It's presented as cringy, but hey, they put on a good show. Throughout the film, she and Ryan dress in complementary outfits, which highlights their relationship dynamic. Obviously, they're twins, so they're a pair on a biological level, but their clothing also makes it clear that they have similar aspirations and personalities. I'd bet that Sharpay probably picks out her outfit first, then forces Ryan to match her, since she considers him an accessory as much as her purses are. I also think that the way that she treats him in this film is a great setup for the sequel, because even though they're clearly close, there's an obvious lack of respect on her end, and regardless of how ditzy he is, you're rooting for Ryan to stand up to her. Up until this point, Sharpay has basically just been a nuisance, but when she snaps at Kelsey, we finally get to see some of that scary queen bee energy. It makes it clear that she isn't popular because she's well-liked or wealthy. It's because the other students fear her. Not quite at a Regina George level, but it's close. When I first watched this movie as a kid, I totally bought the feud between the Scholastic Club, the basketball team, and the drama department. But the second I actually got to high school, I realized how wrong it was. As someone who was a theater kid back in the day, we definitely weren't at the top of the food chain. So it's an interesting choice for Sharpay to be depicted as the popular girl. Convinced that she and Ryan have already gotten the parts in the musical, Sharpay wears a literal power suit to school the next day, making her lack of control over the situation all the more ironic. The pink floral blazer and white trousers kind of read as PTA mom, and with her insisting that things should stay the way they are, she has that sort of energy as well. One of Sharpay's most memorable quirks is her pink locker, which doubles in size by the third film, and I think it's so much fun that she has backup outfits in there, because why wouldn't she? We actually see the white cardigan she'd been considering changing into when she's trying to find Gabriella in the bathroom, a scene that is joked about to this day. As one of Sharpay's more casual outfits, this is probably the most realistic of the bunch, with denim miniskirts, lace camisoles, and fitted cardigans being mid-2000s staples. One thing I really appreciate about the costuming in the film is that even though the characters have specific motifs, silhouettes, and colors that they're associated with, it isn't completely set in stone, and this flexibility makes them feel more realistic. For example, even though Sharpay's signature color is pink, it isn't the only color that she wears, nor are the other characters forbidden from wearing it. Considering how popular pink actually was at the time, it makes sense for Taylor and Gabriella to wear it, because that's how teenagers would actually dress. They don't know they're in a movie, so they wouldn't be like, oh, I can't wear that because that's Sharpay's color. My least favorite Sharpay outfit is hands down this wool monstrosity that she wears while she and Ryan are snooping on the Scholastic Club and basketball team. But it's possible that that's the point, since Sharpay isn't in control of the musical, and her confidence is shaken as a result. My first issue with this outfit is that I lose any sense of the season. It looks like something you'd wear in the dead of winter, when all of her other outfits were appropriate for spring. There's also a lot of different trends in a single outfit. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't make sense for Sharpay to be wearing these things. After all, ballet flats, vests, corduroy, fur, and pageboy caps were trendy at the time. But maybe they could have stuck to 2 or 3. The 2024 equivalent would be going out in a hair bow, samba tabbies, rectangle glasses, jorts, and a corset. When she tricks Miss Darbus into changing the date of the callbacks, Sharpay is wearing yet another questionable outfit, highlighting her nervousness. From the waist up, I actually think it's pretty cute, even if her purse looks like a makeup caboodle, but I can't get over the dress paired with the jeans. Yes, this was a real trend that everyone, including myself, participated in, but we shouldn't have. I know it's made a small resurgence in popularity these last few years, but I'm too traumatized from the last time around to humor it myself. Now, I do like a 1970s tunic pant combo, but that was more tailored and thoughtful. The 2000s iteration looks more disjointed, and not once have I ever thought, you know what, that outfit is better with pants. Although Tom McKinley was the costume designer for all of the films except the third, Ashley Tisdale has taken some of the credit for Sharpay's looks, saying in an interview, quote, "I invented some of the outfits in the movies. I created the character through her clothes. I wore the dress with pants underneath and a belt, and it was this one specific moment in High School Musical." I guess she must be referring to this outfit. And if you look at what Tisdale was wearing around this time period, there's definitely a good deal of overlap with Sharpay's style, like the bangles, sequins, shrugs, chunky belts, and knee-length skirts. Honestly, Sharpay's outfits might actually be tame in comparison. One thing I find funny about this scene is that Ryan, Sharpay, Troy, and Gabriella are all wearing the same color palette of orange, green, and white, perhaps highlighting that they're not as different as they think they are. On the day of the callbacks, Sharpay is wearing a pair of jeans, a purple top with silver beading, and matching silver accessories, which add that signature Sharpay flair for glamour. Purple has long been considered the color of royalty, so the outfit can be seen as symbolic of her role as the queen bee, imagery that is solidified with her tiara necklace. It may not have been intentional, but I wonder if it's sort of her lucky necklace, since she wears it on both the days that she has to audition. While this isn't what the average 15-year-old was wearing to school, the fun top and a pair of jeans outfit formula was definitely a staple of the mid-2000s, and you could spot all sorts of celebrities wearing this type of look on red carpets and out to the club. This top was also worn by one of the Sinister Sisters in Return to Halloween Town, which was released the same year as High School Musical. And I think there's actually a pretty decent chance that it's the exact same top, since the two productions shared crew members and were both filmed in Utah. While Sharpay and Ryan are warming up in their dressing room, Sharpay dons a light pink velour bathrobe with a rhinestone collar. Velour was first popularized in the 1970s, and then returned with a vengeance in the 2000s thanks to Juicy Couture. Although most associated with tracksuits, velour skirts, purses, and bathrobes were a thing. so it totally makes sense for Sharpay to have one. Not only does it tie back to her popular persona, but it's as comfy as it is stylish, and I love that even in private, she's committed to being fashionable. For their iconic performance of Bop to the Top, Sharpay and Ryan are once again dressed to match, with Sharpay in a bedazzled blue salsa dress with a dramatic skirt, and Ryan in dress pants, a patterned shirt, and a fedora. Both of their looks have a slightly Latin spin to them to fit the song, which does not feel like it comes from the same musical that Gabriella and Troy are auditioning for. As always, Sharpay's accessories sell the look, with blue earrings and bangles, a matching bedazzled headset, and large fabric flowers in her hair. I really like the pop of pink since it breaks up all of the blue while also incorporating Sharpay's signature color. I'd consider this the most iconic of Sharpay's outfits from the first film, and it was even referenced in the Sweet Life episode where everyone tries out for High School Musical, but with London getting the part of Sharpay instead of Maddie.
What part are you trying out for? Hello? Sharpay? People say I look just like her. Really? I don't see it.
Fun fact, every main cast member, except Corbin Bleu and Lucas Grabeel, would make cameo appearances on The Sweet Life, and I remember my little kid brain exploding when Zac Efron and Ashley Tisdale kissed. This is also the only outfit that made an appearance in High School Musical: The Concert, which began touring in the fall of 2006. Even though it was only about a year after they'd filmed the first movie, it's actually crazy how different the cast looks, especially Troy. Just kidding. Zac Efron was actually unavailable since he was filming Hairspray, so Disney enlisted Drew Seeley to go on tour instead. Seeley had actually auditioned for the role of Troy and wound up serving as Efron's singing voice for the first film, which I always remembered being confused by because he eventually wound up doing the singing himself anyway. Although Sharpay is initially upset about Troy and Gabriella making the callbacks, she eventually accepts her defeat with grace, going on to extend an olive branch following the Wildcats basketball game. She's still a bit sassy, which I like because obviously someone's entire personality wouldn't change in a day, but this resolution still makes a lot of sense for the character. Yes, she's disappointed she lost, but she respects the theater enough to swallow her pride and accept second place, and this passion and resilience is definitely one of her stronger points. The costuming reinforces the idea that Sharpay is on better terms with everyone, no longer standing out like a sore thumb, but actually blending in. They look like a team. The all-white look could also be symbolic of Sharpay's fresh start, as if she has literally wiped the slate clean. Like she has for most of the film, Sharpay is wearing a silver necklace, but instead of a music note or a star or a crown, which were symbolic of her own interests and ego, it's now a heart. A very literal representation of her change of heart towards Gabriella and Zeke. I do prefer Gabriella's look, which I would still wear today, but I feel like Sharpay's transformation really exemplifies her journey over the course of the film. Because Disney had no idea how big of a hit High School Musical was going to be, they weren't particularly attached to any of the costumes. So when Ashley Tisdale requested to take Sharpay's wardrobe home in exchange for all of her hard work, they said yes. They soon regretted that decision after seeing the demand for High School Musical related content, as they were unable to include Sharpay's outfits with the others in displays or interviews. In February 2007, the cast was brought back to Utah to begin filming the sequel, and once they were done, they were sent to Latin America to finish the final leg of the live concert tour. A few months later, on August 17th, High School Musical 2 premiered in the US and drew a whopping 17.2 million viewers, more than twice the amount of the first movie, and it still holds the record for highest viewed DCOM. Most of the time, sequels are worse than the original, especially when Disney is concerned, but High School Musical 2 was actually an improvement, with the bigger budget being immediately apparent. Unlike the first film, which took place entirely at school, the sequel follows the students to a country club where they've gotten jobs for the summer, with Sharpay scheming to have Troy partner up with her musically and romantically. The film continues where the first left off, with Sharpay dressed like one of the Wildcats, although it's in a far more eye-catching manner with the bright red top and gold pants. There's also a chance that she's simply showing off her school spirit to pander to her rabid fan base, who are now begging for autographs and chasing her down the halls. In the first film, you could make the argument that Sharpay might not be as popular as she'd led herself to believe, but in this film, it's undeniable, which I think justifies her more unhinged behavior. The more convinced you are that people adore you, the more you think you can get away with. Celebrity culture was at an all-time high during the 2000s, and one person who always found themselves on the cover of magazines was socialite and reality TV star Paris Hilton. Hilton had already served as the inspiration for the character of London Tipton in The Suite Life, but with the formula working so well, they decided to push more of Hilton's quirks onto Sharpay. As a result, she's a little bit less of an overeager theater kid and more of a spoiled, materialistic brat. Like, instead of wanting to be on Broadway, it feels like she'd be more interested in going to Hollywood. While Gabriella, Taylor, and Sharpay's outfits had a good deal of overlap in the first film, in the second they're given more distinctive aesthetics. Taylor's outfits are more retro, Gabriella is boho and sporty, and Sharpay is a total glamazon. When she arrives at the country club, we see Sharpay driving a pink convertible with her initials on the hood, and for a moment, she looks like a real-life Barbie doll. Her little white headscarf is an homage to old Hollywood actresses including Grace Kelly, Audrey Hepburn, Marilyn Monroe, Elizabeth Taylor, and Sophia Loren, who were often seen wearing this style in the 1950s and 60s. The trend has reappeared more recently, but at the time of the film's release, it was actually a pretty niche reference for kids. We're also introduced to Sharpay's dog, Boy, who happened to be played by director Kenny Ortega's actual dog, Manly Ortega. This is another reference to Paris Hilton, who popularized the trend of handbag dogs in the United States, so called because they were often spotted tucked into tote bags or carried in the crook of an arm. While Chihuahuas were the go-to for this trend, any pint-sized pooch did the trick, and celebrities were spotted carrying Pomeranians, Bichon Frises, Maltese, and Yorkshire Terriers. The dogs themselves cost a pretty penny, but the rich and famous wanted to flaunt their wealth even more, resulting in the popularization of luxury-branded dog carriers. This was widely parodied in the media, with Legally Blonde, White Chicks, and Beverly Hills Chihuahua all referencing the strange trend. Sharpay takes it a step further by actually dressing her dog to match her, making all of the members of the Evans family look like a unit. While she had once matched the Wildcats, she now matches the employees at the country club, symbolizing how her priorities have shifted and the fact that she literally owns them. As we've said, the tank top miniskirt combo was pretty common in the 2000s, but the matching neon blues make it a bit more elevated and fashion-forward, while also helping her pop against all of the browns at the country club. Sharpay is also wearing a pair of blue and red cowboy boots, which might seem a little too boho for her style philosophy, but she's made them work. Cowboy boots were another popular trend in the 2000s, something I'd partially credit to the rise of country music in the mainstream with Taylor Swift and Carrie Underwood, and media with Southern characters like Hannah Montana, Sweet Home Alabama, and the Dukes of Hazzard. Even though Sharpay retains her penchant for silver accessories, they're not afraid to mix metals, and the gold belt and bikini are perfectly balanced with the rest of the outfit. This isn't the first time we've seen Sharpay wearing a star-shaped necklace, but it's grown in size, perhaps in direct proportion to her ego. When she heads to the pool, Sharpay has an entire entourage with her. Apart from Ryan and Boy, she's also joined by the trio known as the Sharpettes. They're not really characters in the movie, but I do appreciate how well coordinated their outfits are throughout, wearing an array of colorful swimwear, classic country club looks, and sparkly performance attire to match whatever Sharpay has on. Instead of a bikini, which might have shown a little too much skin for the Disney Channel, Sharpay dons a 2000 summer classic, a tankini. Paired with the hot pink cover-up, giant sunglasses, lace-up wedges, and large hat, Sharpay is giving quintessential summer glam, and the look has since made a recent return as part of the coconut girl aesthetic. According to director Kenny Ortega, the musical number is meant to pay homage to Esther Williams, who helped popularize synchronized swimming in the 1940s, and her influence can be seen in both the choreography and the costuming for Fabulous. The most obvious is the vintage swimming caps that the Sharpettes wear, which, yes, look a little goofy to modern audiences, but were a popular accessory throughout the 40s and 50s. Even though this outfit doesn't necessarily feel appropriate for lounging by the pool, it makes sense that Sharpay would want to dress to impress, not only because she wants to woo Troy, but also because her parents routinely emphasize how important being pretty is, which has no doubt impacted her self-image, hence her superficiality, narcissism, and competitiveness.
Tell Pumpkin if she worries too much, she'll get frown lines.
While Troy and Gabriella are having a picnic date, Ryan and Sharpay spy on them, taking it to the extremes with a pair of binoculars and a walkie-talkie. I do think it would have been funny if they'd put on corny disguises as well, but maybe that would have been a bit too over the top. Sharpay is wearing a purple striped lace cami, making her match with Ryan, who's in a green striped polo. And you'll notice that Troy and Gabriella are matching each other, making it clear that Sharpay's attempts to tear them apart aren't working. At least, not yet. When she goes to the spa, she changes into a light pink robe with a gold sequin sash and a pink headscarf. Although it isn't as plush as her robe in the first film, I love how she's accessorized it, something that her mother has also done. I guess style runs in the family. When the Evans go out to play golf, the entire family is once again matching, but Sharpay has still ensured that she stands out. In the 2000s, tennis was all the rage, and many brands capitalized on this by dressing some of the most popular players. Around this time period, the rules for tennis attire became more relaxed, resulting in more fashion-forward ensembles that trickled into the mainstream, with hoodies, tennis skirts, and polo shirts becoming staples of the athleisure trend. Sharpay's tennis dress is actually from Juicy Couture's Surf Royalty line, which is so perfect I can't believe it. The original dress actually doesn't have any rhinestones on it, so the production must have bedazzled it themselves. Equal parts preppy, sporty, and princessy, the outfit emphasizes how Sharpay rules over the rest of her family, hence the not-so-subtle tiara. The inclusion of pink, her signature color, highlights how Sharpay is in control of the situation, while also being symbolic of romance, femininity, and sweetness. She's attempting to look more innocent in front of Troy. The green, which all of the Evans are wearing, is a not-so-subtle reference to their materialism and wealth, and in Sharpay's case, it's also indicative of her greed and envy. After meeting her family, you completely understand why Sharpay acts the way that she does, as their tendency to coddle her has left her completely disillusioned with the way the world actually works. At dinner, Sharpay takes a more aggressive approach to wooing Troy, not only being extremely touchy, but also donning more of a date night outfit, with a strapless white top and a gold bikini. It's still glamorous, but a bit more approachable than her neon pinks and tiaras. She immediately goes back to being over the top for Humu Humu Nuku Nuku Apua, where she dons a faux island girl look, complete with a seashell crown, flip-flops, sequin toga, and a pineapple on her head. The entire moment really exemplifies how different she and Troy are, not only their performance styles, but also their tastes and interests. I don't personally like the song, but it is entertaining, and I love all of Ryan's numerous outfit changes. As she continues to be bossy and overbearing, her outfits remain flashy, like this silver dress, which is the polar opposite of Gabriella's casual work attire. During her golf lesson with Troy, she goes in a sporty direction once again, but it looks less sweet than when she was with her parents, perhaps because she's being less subtle with her flirting. We don't often see Sharpay in black, so the outfit is noteworthy for that reason alone. You could see it as being symbolic of how she's truly become a villain, not just an insecure girl who's trying to get her way. Just while she's wearing this outfit, she lies to Troy about her golfing abilities, she steals Troy and Gabriella's song, and she tells Ryan that she won't be performing with him. This is the last time we see her and Ryan match, as he starts to side with the Wildcats from this point onward. After successfully convincing Troy to perform with her, the two do a run-through of her more up-tempo take of You Are the Music and Me. She starts off in a pink diamond-encrusted trench coat, which isn't necessarily tame, but it does provide a good contrast to her actual performance outfit, which feels a bit more provocative than anything else she's worn in the film. The outfit sort of reminds me of what she wore in the first movie, just more bold, and the entire performance is reminiscent of a Vegas residency. Like basically all of Sharpay's outfits, she's wearing a bikini, which I think is a great addition to her wardrobe since it gives undeniable summertime energy. It's also an age-appropriate take on showing your bra, and since she spends the entire movie attempting to seduce Troy, I can't help but think the choice was purposeful. After their performance is finished, Troy briefly hallucinates and sees Sharpay in a wedding dress. Because Troy is just a teenage boy, his imaginary version of a wedding is still influenced by his surroundings, which is why it looks like a homecoming dress, just accessorized to be bridal. I don't actually think that Sharpay would wear this sort of dress to her wedding. She'd probably go the classic princess ball gown route, but the look is still a lot of fun regardless. When she discovers that Ryan is working with the Wildcats, Sharpay is wearing a striped halter top and a pair of white shorts. In silhouette and color, it's similar to what she's been wearing throughout the film, just maybe a little bit more casual. Even though she acts tough, you can tell that Ryan's betrayal stings, and Sharpay literally forces herself to perform like she doesn't care, strutting out of the room to an up-tempo beat. It's an interesting moment since it makes us question how much of Sharpay is real and how much is an act. Fully intent on winning the talent show, Sharpay puts on a black dress with cutouts, showing that she's fully committed to her role as the villain. The tiara is a bit over the top, but it solidifies her status as the boss of the country club, and the entire outfit is the perfect display of her power and her petulance. For a Disney movie, this outfit actually feels pretty risque, and it's a look that comes across as the most Paris Hilton in the entire film. After she successfully gets the Wildcats thrown out of the talent show, Sharpay celebrates by the pool with the Sharpettes, putting on a floral tankini and the same pink cover-up from earlier. As a near identical copy of her outfit from Fabulous, we can understand that from Sharpay's point of view, she believes that she's finally gotten what she wants. The outfit is also more sweet than what she'd been wearing in the last few scenes, allowing us to understand that in Sharpay's mind, she doesn't think that she's done anything wrong. It isn't until Gabriella finally confronts her that Sharpay begins to understand the impact her decisions have had on others, but she isn't fully ready to own up to them yet. Can I just say that if a girl had been messing with my friends, my partner, and my vacation, she and I would have been exchanging a lot more than words. After Gabriella dumps his ass, Troy finally realizes how much Sharpay has been toying with him, and while wearing a Wildcats t-shirt, he cuts ties with her. Wearing a purple sequined headscarf, a purple and blue tie-dye top, white jeans, and a purple metallic swimsuit, the outfit is kind of giving fashionable pirate. The use of purple is rather ironic, as it highlights her wealth, power, and status, all of which have proven useless in her battle for Troy's affections. Although I was more of a Blair Waldorf headband girl myself, the style that Sharpay wears throughout the film was popular in the 2000s, although it was usually paisley, not sequins. After being scorned by Troy, we see Sharpay in her Humu Humu dress once again, but it's no use. Ryan wants nothing to do with her. This prompts a full-blown breakdown, and Sharpay is the most disheveled we've seen her the entire series, with her hair and makeup being a complete and utter mess. Although she attempts to convince herself that she hasn't actually done anything that bad, we still get the impression that deep down she knows she's made mistakes, and we could directly tie this vulnerability to her less than perfect appearance. It's also the one time we actually see her fully express her feelings for Troy. She truly thinks he's a good guy, not just someone with talent and popularity that she can use for her own gain. The pink satin boxing robe is representative of how she still has some fight left in her, and when she takes it off, she reveals a fitted silver dress. Now dressed like her usual glamorous self, Sharpay's personality reverts back to normal, once again acting smug and conceited. As a result, it's pretty satisfying to see Ryan get the upper hand once and for all, officially ruining Sharpay's chances of winning the talent show, and this loss is solidified when the Sharpettes abandon her. Although Sharpay has worn several shiny dresses throughout the film, this silver number is hands down my favorite, being as elegant as it is unique, and she looks like a literal movie star. Although not technically a bandage dress, it does remind me of the popular skin-tight looks popularized by Hervé Leger, which would make Sharpay quite ahead of the curve since those types of dresses reached their peak in the early 2010s. I do think it's funny that in promotional images, they gave her a tank top to wear instead of the bikini, because I guess that was too revealing. It's also worth noting that even though it's unintentional on her end, she matches the rest of the Wildcats, who are in blue and white, signaling how they've forgiven her for everything that she's done. In a heartwarming moment, the group run around on the golf course, finally enjoying the summer the way they always should have been. Sharpay, who is back with Zeke, is wearing a simple white dress. There's no glitter, no high heels. She's finally able to relax and be a kid. In what I assume is an homage to what she wore in Bop to the Top, Sharpay ends the film in a fitted fishtail dress and flowers in her hair. Although Sharpay is most associated with pink, I've gotta say that this bright blue looks really good on her, and combined with the white bikini, it's the perfect summertime outfit. After the success of the second film, Disney quickly got started on the third installment. Initially, they played around with a Halloween-themed movie, which they called Haunted High School Musical, but the concept was quickly dropped in favor of High School Musical 3 Senior Year, which would follow the Wildcats as they prepared for college. With plans to release the film in theaters, and the biggest budget yet, there was a lot of pressure. But they rose to the challenge, with the film having some of the best performances in the entire franchise. Released on October 17, 2008, the film opened at #1 and eventually brought in over $250 million. While Sharpay is still slightly antagonistic, scheming against her classmates over a scholarship at Juilliard, she does have her own separate storyline that sees her fighting her own understudy. Selena Gomez was offered the role of Tiara Gold, Sharpay's new lackey and rival, but she declined, which I think is a shame because imagine how iconic that would have been. Sharpay is still presented as popular, but they've decided to make it based on her sex appeal more than anything else, with boys drooling over her, while girls basically ignore her. I can't say I'm totally surprised by this direction, considering how flirtatious they made her in the second film, but it is a bit odd, since most of the people who were fans of Sharpay were girls, not boys. Her introduction outfit perfectly exemplifies how much fashion had changed since the first film was released. Although Sharpay is still in a two-piece set, there's none of that stuck-up formal energy. Instead, she just looks cool. This is similar to her dynamic with her classmates. She still acts a bit uppity, but there's more of an attempt to be friendly. While her pinks in the first film were bubblegum, by the third film they've turned into fuchsia, representing her maturity and confidence. Another change is her cell phone, which is still bedazzled, but has been swapped to a BlackBerry to reflect the changing times. Her locker has gotten even more impressive, with multiple mirrors, a selection of perfumes, and an entire rack of clothing. And I love that she just keeps a tiara locked and loaded for whenever she needs it. Although Sharpay's antics in the other films are definitely questionable, I feel more sympathetic for her in this film. Because imagine loving something so much that you've spent your entire life dedicated to it, only to find out that some guy is possibly going to steal your future. Sure, Sharpay takes her passion for stardom a little too far, but a scholarship is the one scenario where I feel like it's okay to get a bit competitive. Although considering how wealthy Sharpay's family is, she probably could have attended regardless. In an attempt to get Ryan to help her win the scholarship, she waxes poetic about their future. In this dream sequence, the two are celebrities, with Sharpay becoming a bona fide superstar. In her first fantasy, she walks the pink carpet in a silver dress with a ruffle throw. The look is very reminiscent of old Hollywood starlets, whose lifestyle we can infer Sharpay aspires to have. They then segue to a more rock star-inspired look, with Sharpay wearing a black leather jacket and having pink highlights, which is very reminiscent of the edgy outfits celebrities were sporting at the time. She and Ryan then hop onto some treadmills in workout attire, and Sharpay's teeny tiny shorts definitely would have gotten me written up back in high school. Although the look is rooted in sportswear of the 1970s and 80s, there was a brief resurgence in the late 2000s, as seen in the music video for Vanessa Hudgens' Sneaker Night. We see Sharpay briefly wear a gold dressing gown before switching to a white leotard and tailcoat. This entire dance sequence is inspired by movie musical numbers, with Kenny Ortega citing the works of Gene Kelly, Bob Fosse, Jerome Robbins, and Michael Kidd as the major influences, something that's reflected in Sharpay's outfit, although I would have appreciated a bowler hat. I'm also reminded of the Roxy number from Chicago, which makes sense considering the entire song is about Sharpay wanting to be the center of attention. During rehearsals, Sharpay wears an animal print peplum dress which feels super Jersey Shore, and combined with a gold starlet necklace and black boots, it feels more appropriate for the club than it does high school. I do think the animal imagery is interesting though, as it relates to Sharpay's dog-eat-dog mindset. Although Sharpay sports brands like Marc Jacobs, Dolce & Gabbana, Juicy Couture, and Betsey Johnson, more than half of her wardrobe was designed and made specifically for the character. For a prom-inspired musical number, we see Sharpay in a pink feathered dressing gown. Feathers were actually a new addition to the character's wardrobe, and were a reference to peacocks, who are known for their flamboyant personalities and flair for the dramatic. We've seen Sharpay in a lot of different robes over the course of the franchise, becoming more elaborate as she's become more of a diva, and I think this is actually my favorite of the bunch. For some reason, the movie treats prom attire casually, probably for dancing purposes, but the short hemlines feel more appropriate for homecoming if you ask me. Each of the girls is dressed in a unique style, with Gabriella going boho, Taylor preppy, and Kelsey ballerina. Sharpay's look is obviously the most glamorous, with a fuchsia high-low dress, a sparkly belt, and opera gloves. The entire ensemble is a reference to Marilyn Monroe's performance of Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, which is easily the most iconic pink dress in the history of cinema, being referenced countless times apart from this one. We also have a video about that if you're interested. Besides Sharpay resembling the character visually, there's also some overlap when it comes to their personalities, with Lorelei Lee also being a performer willing to do anything to get ahead. When Sharpay submits Gabriella for a program at Stanford in order to make her miss the show, she's wearing a black dress with white lace ruffles, and as we mentioned in the last film, Sharpay tends to wear black when she's being villainous. The outfit is pretty boring for Sharpay, and I would have loved to see more accessories to take it up a notch. This imagery continues in the next scene when she tells Ryan to get a song from Kelsey. I think this could have been a lot cuter with a pair of jeans, which the film basically gets rid of in order to emphasize Sharpay's hyperfemininity. And I've got to say that with the heavy makeup and miniskirt, it's pretty obvious that they're trying to position Sharpay as more sexual and grown up than the rest of the girls. When Sharpay tells Troy about Gabriella's acceptance into Stanford's program, she's wearing what I would call a disguise, purposely dressing more innocently to appear trustworthy and well-intentioned. Made out of vinyl, the entire look is an ode to 1960s mod, just with a 1950s silhouette. Once she's officially taken Gabriella's duet with Troy, Sharpay is back in black, this time accessorized with a gold beret, shoes, and a heart necklace. She's the star again, which means she has to dress the part. Even though you get the sense that Sharpay is aware of how unhappy everyone is about this new development, she isn't quite ready to give up, as seen with the white and gold dress that she wears during dance practice. After what feels like an eternity, we finally get to see Sharpay in a classic Juicy Couture tracksuit. Although it's hot pink, we see her showing some camaraderie with a Wildcats logo on the hood, which I also feel is a good representation of her catty attitude towards Jimmy. We see Sharpay in her third robe of the film, which is light pink with a feathered collar and her initials, and I feel like it perfectly captures her prima donna energy. When she finally gets on stage, she's wearing a teal tulle dress with sequins, and the color is a deviation from anything else we've seen her in. With the performance falling apart and Tiara stealing her role, we could interpret this out-of-character outfit as a representation of Sharpay's shock and surprise. She's off her game, at least for the time being. Sharpay pulls herself together and makes her way back on stage, showing off the star power that validates the character's overt confidence. Once again, we're referencing Bop to the Top. But with its short hemline and single puff sleeve, this iteration of the blue dress feels a lot more casual. For their faux graduation ceremony, each of the students announced their college plans, with Sharpay attending the University of Albuquerque for performing arts. As always, Sharpay is set on standing out, so both her robe and cap are bedazzled. We also see Boy in his own graduation outfit, which is honestly too cute for words. Underneath everything, Sharpay is wearing a fuchsia corset and pants, and she's tied her stole into a necktie, adding a fashionable edge that we've come to expect from her. The top actually reminds me a lot of the one that she wore when she was first introduced, so it's a nice full circle moment for the character. We understand that she's still the same person, but she's starting to think of people other than herself now. In 2011, a spinoff film, Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure, was released, and came with a notable decline in quality that can be seen in everything from the screenplay to the editing to the costume design. I'd honestly compare it to Mean Girls 2 or Legally Blondes. That's how rough it is to watch. Because of that, I'm not going to be talking about each individual outfit in the film, but more so the costuming as a whole. When the film begins, we discover that Sharpay has dropped out of college and is spending her time performing at the country club. After the performance, she's approached by a casting director, who tells her that if she's ever in New York, there might be a role for her in his upcoming Broadway show. Positive that this is her big break, Sharpay convinces her parents to let her and Boy go to New York, which they only agree to if she can actually land the role. Things immediately go south, with Sharpay being kicked out of her apartment because they don't allow dogs, and realizing that the casting director wanted Boy to audition, not her. Sharpay later becomes the assistant/maid of the show's star, who says that she'll make sure that Boy gets the part in the production, which of course is a lie. During this time, Sharpay has been getting close to Peyton, an aspiring director who has been filming her exploits since she arrived in New York. When he finds out that Sharpay was attempting to get ahead through means other than her talent, the two argue, but they soon make up. Sharpay schemes against the show's star, successfully getting her kicked out of the production, which allows Sharpay to take over, finally making her Broadway debut. When she's living with her parents, her outfits are more juvenile, with butterflies, pastels, glitter, and tulle. She looks like a 12-year-old trapped in a 25-year-old's body, which is also how I describe her personality, whining and pouting as much as ever, while also being completely unaware of her own naivete. When she first gets to New York, mistakenly believing that she's about to become a star, she continues to dress in a flamboyant manner. Her color palette becomes more saturated, mirroring her level of excitement, and her sparkles are taken to the next level, with Sharpay even wearing a trench coat completely covered in sequins. She initially wears only dresses, I think because they wanted to create a bigger contrast between her and the cold-hearted city folk, who tend to be in neutrals and pants. It's clear that trends have moved from the 2000s to the 2010s, as seen with the fascinators, fingerless gloves, and waist-cinching belts, and I just don't find them to be as interesting as what she wore in the first two films. One fun addition is her nameplate necklace, and I wonder if an episode of Sex and the City influenced that decision, like Sharpay was attempting to have her own main character moment. After she starts working as an assistant, she attempts to dress more professionally, donning pants, waistcoats, neckties, and button-down shirts. Although I respect the effort, it winds up making her look like a butler, which is how she's being treated, so I guess it works from a story perspective. Once she's regained her confidence, she goes back to her signature blingy dresses, even wearing bop to the top blue. I don't really love this decision because it fails to capture her development over the course of the series. Since her clothing has always come across as more LA than NYC, why not have her dress more normal to show that she's found the place she wants to be? I'm not saying that she needs to completely lose the color, but maybe she could stop dressing like she did in high school. Honestly, the only good thing about this movie is the casting of Austin Butler. Not necessarily because he does an amazing job, but because Ashley Tisdale wound up introducing him to Vanessa Hudgens, who he proceeded to date for nearly a decade. Hudgens was one of the first people to push Butler to star in Elvis, the film that's credited as his breakthrough role. So without Sharpay's fabulous adventure, we might not have gotten Austin Butler as Fade Rotha. Talk about a butterfly effect. Which of Sharpay's outfits is your favorite? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to check out our other style analysis videos. We've covered a bunch of different movies like Legally Blonde and The Craft, as well as individual characters like Barbie, Bella Baxter, and Effie Trinket. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Bye!